You've done everything right. You've played the roles, you've kept the promises, and you've checked all the boxes. But something's missing, isn't it? And when the noise dies down and when no one's asking anything of you, when the room is quiet, you realize you actually don't know who you are. Not really. Not beneath the responsibilities, not beneath the roles, not beneath the reflexes you've mistaken for personality. This is the true cost of not knowing yourself. You build a life that looks like yours, but feels like someone else's. And the interesting part about this is that you're not in obvious pain, not the dramatic kind, but you feel a quiet dislocation, a drifting like you're performing a memory of who you thought you'd be, rather than inhabiting the truth of who you truly are right now. You may have the job, the relationship, the title, the story, but there's no anchor, there's no inner reference point, there's nothing to guide you moment to moment. You hesitate to name what you want because you're not sure if it's yours or just what you've been conditioned to desire. You stay busy all the time because stillness feels like exposure. You fill the calendar because silence raises too many questions. You say things like, I'm just tired, or it's just a phase, or once this settles down, I'll get to that. But the truth is, you've been a stranger to yourself for years, and no one knows because you're essentially and fundamentally functional. You're responsible, you're respected, and that's the perfect disguise. But here's the thing. You can't outsource identity. You can't build it through feedback. You can't receive it as praise. It must be met in solitude, in truth, in rupture, in the places where the performance cracks and something ancient breaks through. Most men, unfortunately, will never get there, not because they don't want to, but because they've spent so long adapting that they believe adaptation is identity. They confuse loyalty with knowing. They confuse productivity with presence. They confuse comfort with coherence. And one day they look in the mirror and feel nothing. Not because they dislike themselves, but because they never truly met themselves. And meeting yourself is not an idea or an ideal or a concept. It's a burning away. It's realizing that most of what you defend is scaffolding. It's inherited or imposed and usually unquestioned. It's sitting in the fire of what no longer fits without rushing to replace it. It's letting the space between the old self and the true self stretch long enough to become real. This is the cost of not doing that work, to not do the know thyself work. You live a life of near alignment. You stay in approximation. You speak fluently but without voice. And eventually, when collapse comes, and it will, you won't even be sure that you're grieving, because the version of you that was lost was never truly known in the first place. That's the tragedy, not the breakdown, not the divorce, not the shift. The tragedy is when a man loses himself without ever having met himself. And it happens every day in boardrooms, in marriages, in bedrooms, in fatherhood. The man who can't answer the question, this one simple question, who am I when no one needs anything from me? That man who can't answer that question is already gone. So what do? Again, you stop performing, you stop curating, you stop asking others to reflect your worth back to you, and you begin the slow, unglamorous process of listening inward. You don't need to explain yourself to others. You don't need to have a brand. You don't need to be consistent with who you were last year. You need to be right here, right now, in the raw frequency of what is true, before it's polished, before it was presentable, before it's proven. Because the moment you touch that, even for a breath. You'll feel it. And that's where you are. Welcome to The Architect Speaks.